America in Crisis, a test of Trump's competency and leadership. By Azlan Adnan, M.A. The protests that began in Los Angeles have now spread far beyond the City of Angels, evolving into a nationwide movement across the United States, from Seattle and Spokane to Chicago, New York City, Austin, San Antonio, Las Vegas, San Francisco, Atlanta, Washington, D.C., Boston, Portland, Maine, Salt Lake City, Hartford, Tampa, Sacramento, Dallas, Phoenix, Philadelphia, Detroit, Baltimore, Louisville, Raleigh, Denver, Jacksonville, and Omaha. Americans are rising in solidarity against federal immigration raids and perceived government overreach. What began as a localized backlash to immigration enforcement has become a full-scale test of federalism, civil liberties, and presidential authority. At the center of it all stands President Trump, whose leadership is being scrutinized on the national and global stage. A nation in flux. The deployment of over 2,000 National Guard troops and 700 U.S. Marines to Los Angeles was intended to restore order. Instead, it has escalated tensions, provoked constitutional debates, and polarized public opinion. California Governor Gavin Newsom, a prominent Democratic leader and frequent critic of President Trump, has called the move unconstitutional and is suing the federal government over what he describes as an abuse of executive power. Legal experts and civil rights groups echo this sentiment. Meanwhile, the detainment of U.S. Senator Alex Padilla, a Democrat representing California, by federal agents during a press conference in Oakland, has sent shockwaves across the political establishment. His removal in full view of cameras and journalists has been widely condemned as a violation of senatorial privilege and democratic norms. These events have only deepened the crisis. Yet the situation is no longer confined to California. Demonstrations, rallies, and civil disobedience have erupted in cities across the nation, making it clear that the grievances are not isolated. They are systemic. Revolution theory. The two conditions. Political scientists often reference a theory that defines the preconditions for revolution. 1. Profound underlying discontent among the people. Economic inequality, perceived government illegitimacy, racial injustice, and alienation from the political process have built up over decades. The current wave of protests has tapped into these unresolved tensions. 2. A trigger or precipitating event. The aggressive federal response to Los Angeles, complete with military deployment and immigration raids, has served as the spark that ignited widespread mobilization. These two conditions, once met, are highly suggestive of a revolution in the making, certainly of a nation in crisis. What follows may not be a bloodbath, but a movement for political reform has been set in motion. President Trump's defining moment. Whether the president recognizes it or not, this is a defining moment. How he responds, with escalation, dialogue, negotiation, or retreat, will determine not only his political fate, but potentially the long-term viability of America's democratic institutions. His supporters argue that he is demonstrating strength and resolve. His detractors fear the normalization of martial rhetoric and authoritarian tendencies. Some even warn that constitutional checks are being eroded before our eyes. The pending lawsuits from California, the open resistance from local mayors, and the growing number of cities joining the demonstrations all point to a fractured union, one that requires skillful, empathetic leadership, not political brinkmanship. Why caution is essential. The United States is not yet in freefall, but the signs are alarming. Militarization of civilian spaces can backfire, inflaming tensions rather than containing them. Federal overreach, particularly when it overrides state authority or the rule of law, sets dangerous precedents. Erosion of public trust could push already skeptical citizens toward radicalization or disengagement. The impulse to control the streets through force may bring temporary calm, but it cannot heal the deeper wounds. A tempered hope. Despite these grim realities, America's democratic institutions have not yet collapsed. The press continues to report. The courts remain operational. Governors are pushing back, and legal processes are underway. That alone offers hope. This unrest could yet serve as a turning point, a moment when hard conversations about race, class, citizenship, and governance are no longer deferred but confronted directly. The country has survived turmoil before, but whether it can overcome today's polarization and mutual suspicion will depend largely on how leadership rises or fails to rise to the occasion. The final question. Whether this moment becomes a flashpoint for collapse or a catalyst for reform depends not just on what Trump does next, but on whether the nation can rediscover a shared civic identity. The deep fractures exposed by these demonstrations are not new, but they are now undeniable. The path forward demands leadership rooted in empathy, stability, and vision, not just strength. The world is watching. If Trump can't resolve what is basically a domestic skirmish, he will have neither the credibility nor the moral authority to resolve Gaza, Ukraine, or anything else on the world stage. A heartfelt light. To every soul whose hand did give, you've helped me dream, helped me live. In darkest hours your light came through, with hearts so kind, so pure, so true. Your gifts, like stars in deepest night, have steered me gently toward the light. Each coin, each word, each silent prayer, a thread of hope so rich, so rare. My eyes once dimmed now seek the skies, and slowly clearer visions rise. Because of you, I dare to see the world again, its grace, its plea. Your compassion's flame will not just stay with me alone. It lights the way for others wandering through despair to feel the warmth of selfless care. You've shown what love in action means, in quiet ways through giving scenes. You've built a bridge from soul to soul and made the broken feel more whole. So let this thanks rise like a song, a melody both soft and strong. May your example gently call more hearts to rise to give. To fall into the joy of lifting pain, of planting hope where none remains. Your kindness walks beside me still, a light, a love, a living will.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to show your support.